The midnight train to Dreamland, in a small, sleepy town nestled between silver lakes and rolling hills covered with wildflowers. There was an old railway station that most people had forgotten about. The wooden platform creaked beneath every step, and the paint on the sign had faded until only a few letters remained visible. For years, no trains had stopped there, at least no ordinary trains. But if you listen very closely on the quietest nights, just when the clock hands touched midnight, you could hear a soft, magical whistle carried on the breeze. It wasn't loud enough to wake the whole town, but it was just enough for children who were almost asleep to hear. That was the moment the midnight train to Dreamland arrived. The train was unlike any other. It didn't chug with black smoke or roar with iron wheels. Instead, its carriages shimmered like stardust, sparkling softly beneath the moonlight. Its wheels rolled smoothly on beams of glowing moonlight, and the engine purred like a gentle giant cat stretching in the night. Instead of coal, the train's firebox burned glowing clouds that floated around the station like tiny lanterns. One warm summer night, a boy named Theo lay in bed, watching the shadows flicker and dance on the ceiling. Just as he was about to drift off, he heard it, that soft, enchanting whistle. His eyes popped open. He sat up and tiptoed to the window. Outside, through the silver light of the moon, he saw the train glide silently into the old station, its lights twinkling like fireflies. Without a second thought, Theo slipped on his slippers, grabbed his favorite blue blanket, and slipped quietly out of the house. The night air smelled sweet with jasmine and cool with dew. As he reached the platform, the train doors hissed open. Waiting there was the conductor, a tall, kind man dressed in a deep blue coat stitched with twinkling stars and a silver hat that shimmered like the night sky. He smiled warmly. "Welcome aboard, Master Theo. Ticket, please." Theo blinked, feeling shy. I don't have one," the conductor chuckled softly. "Dreamland tickets aren't bought with money. They're given to those with curious hearts." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a glowing piece of paper. It shimmered softly, and the words glowed gently. "One ride to anywhere you can imagine." Theo's heart leapt with excitement. He carefully took the ticket, and the conductor gestured for him to step inside. As the train began to move, it didn't rush or jolt. Instead, it glided smoothly through the night, carrying Theo farther than he had ever been before into lands that existed only in dreams. The first carriage was filled with forests that whispered bedtime stories. The trees bent low and rustled in voices as soft as a lullaby. Theo sat beneath a glowing tree whose leaves sparkled like tiny lanterns and listened as the branches told tales of brave animals and gentle rains. The next carriage opened into a vast ocean where gentle whales glowed softly beneath the waves. Theo watched as the whales sang songs that sounded like the deepest lullabies, their melodies wrapping around him like a warm blanket. The water shimmered in blues and purples, and glowing fish flickered like stars beneath the surface. Further along, the train passed by mountains made of candy, with rivers flowing warm and thick like cocoa. Theo saw children laughing as they slid down hills of sugar and caught sparkling candy flakes that drifted like snow. Every carriage had something different. There were pillow forts as big as castles' soft hammocks that rocked gently with the sound of lullabies and windows that showed memories, happy afternoons with friends, the smell of fresh-baked cookies, the warm hug of a loved one. Theo wasn't alone on this journey. He met other children from his town and from places he'd never heard of. Together they shared stories and snacks made of clouds and honey, played quiet games, and marveled at the magical sights outside the train's windows. As the night wore on, the train began its slow journey back. Theo curled up in a cozy chair by a window, his eyelids heavy, but his heart full of wonder. Outside, the stars twinkled softly as if waving him goodbye. The train gently pulled into the old station just as the first hints of dawn painted the sky pink and gold. Theo stepped off and wrapped his blanket tightly around him. When he opened his eyes the next morning, he was back in his own bed. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, and everything looked just as it had before. But on his bedside table lay a small glowing ticket, a quiet reminder that the midnight train to Dreamland was real and that it was waiting for him to come back. From that day on, every night Theo listened carefully for the soft whistle of the train, ready to board once again and explore the magical worlds hidden just beyond sleep.